You're listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right, I got a bad cable here. I'm going to give it a try and see if I can get my other microphone on. So again, the curses are increasing and not decreasing. I'm hoping that actually my microphone was actually working before. I think it was. Let me move this to the other cabling. At least the volume on this thing is, it's just the native microphones is actually working somewhat. What I did is I reduced the size of the cable, but it didn't do what I thought it would do. And for all I know, I recorded with the native microphone the whole time. Not sure. So I'm going to take care of business here. Wrap this cable. And remember, wrap that rascal. I just think it's funny. I've never been into wanton sex. And any orgasm I have without a woman present that I'm married to, if you're doing all of it. And your intention. All right, am I actually in this microphone? I guess I am. Keeps kind of doing something funky. Test. Okay, let's see. All right, it's not working. It's working now. All right, what's going on here? I got a bunch of funky stuff happening. All right, it's still not working. Hang on. I may have went the whole time without it working. I'm trying to find an extension. Again, they're devils, demons, antichrists, witches, and sorcerers, and this type of thing does happen. Trying to find my extension cable. Again, if I wasn't living here, this would probably be less of a problem. Because I have overcome the purchase aspect of sufficient cables. But it's just amazing to me that the actual the inboard microphone is actually working with this app. Okay, let's see. This work for any of these. So again, it's just their evil is up. It's obvious if they're able to effectuate a change in my pay and not be arrested, then evil is up. They paid the right people, they got away with it. No, we expected to have made it to the account the way it was originally planned. Again, they had to revert it back to my old bank account for it to work. And you're like, well, that happens. And no, it doesn't just happen. I know exactly what's been happening for the last 20 years. I'm not stupid. I told you I don't say everything every day. If I change an address on a bank account, they'll revert it. Things such as that, routinely. All right, the police department's here trying to project paranoia. It was kind of a weird mix, but it was a Rubicon with a black vehicle behind it, but it kind of took on the form of the police department markings, but it had fear behind it. So your officers are projecting fear with witchcraft. That's one reason you have the issues you're all having. Again, some of you don't care because you get rich when other people suffer. And then you'll tell yourself that you're only suffering the people that deserve to suffer. I know you're scams, all of you. I know you're satanic minds. Again, I know the fake police thing, how it works. Because you're not real. Remember, possession is 9/10 of the law. You're devils. All right, I found my extension cord. This little incident actually backfired on them. All right, am I even here? Is it working? Yes, it is. No, it's not. It just keeps. Which one is it? Which key? All right, here we go again. All right, here we go again. Okay, shipping the microphone with my guys around. No, I didn't know my voice. God does that actually. God will like alter my voice and like put a thought in there, like it's because of this. I'm like, no, it's not. Like when I'm trying to test volumes. Okay, my voice changed. All right, no, the volume thing. All right, here we go again. Buckle up for rough roads ahead. I want to make sure I have my. It's not charging. How's that happening? It's not making any sense. Testing. So I'm coming through this microphone. It's not making sense. But the charge is not coming through. I might have to use another. Oh, looks like it's charging. I might have to use another hub if it's a problem with the hub. I don't know. It's actually, hubs have different characteristics. That's the strange thing. I mean, you would think they would work similarly, but I have like my Rode X. I told you with my Surface Pro, I have to use a hub, and I can't use any hub because they don't have the intelligence of that hub. Whatever that hub is doing to get my Rode X to work, is creating some sort of port connection that the other ones don't. So it's the chip, right? It's a better hub. It's the Anker. I think that one may even be. It's definitely Thunder. What do you call it? Thunderport. Thunder. What is that? Thunder. Thunderbird. Thunder something. Thunderbird 3 or whatever. Port. It's the cable, the main cable. I think it's 20 gigabytes per second. The other one, I think it's 10 or 5. It may actually be 10 gigabytes. I can't remember what it is. It isn't the high dollar port because they get real big. You can't carry them around mobile at all. I mean, could, but it'd be cumbersome. So they'll say, he's seeing something. This person's a victim. And they set the whole thing up. And again, if I see somebody being manipulated by Satan, I could speak about that. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with all of you. Well, I do know what's wrong with you. You're all criminals. No, it had the signature of your police department. One of them, I guess either an X or probably all of them. I think Johnson County is an evil entity within itself. So those 3 police departments or 2 or whatever's here are part of it. So then they go to pull somebody over or to stop somebody, they run or flee in their vehicle. That's what's causing it. It's prisoner of war camp technology, psychological warfare. It's combat lethal. It's designed to kill, degrade, destroy. And they say, well, who are we destroying? You're destroying innocent Americans and members of foreign nations that are here on our soil trying to live peaceful, well lives. Remember, it's as far as this. If they want somebody to rob a bank or be a drug dealer or something like that, narcotics distributor, they will cause that person to be unemployed. If somebody hires them, they follow the boss around, letting them know that they're being followed around, their stocks are dropping because they employed that person. And then the boss fires that person. And then they start again trying to get them to make money off of some illegal method. That's it. It's that far. In some officers, it's beyond that. But yeah, that far. It's even further than that. Inside. Real officers. The ones that don't want that to happen. So again, Trump uses my persona a lot. So whoever is giving Trump ideas, or even Trump, they're following what I do and what I've done. Again, Trump used everything I ever used to get the Republican Party up, but he used it corruptly and falsely. His blue suit. At this point, it signifies a police state. He said enough bullshit for us to realize that he's interested in starting a police state. Not even one punch bowl. And these people driving around in Johnson County, harassing members of the community, maybe trying to push people into supporting and voting for Trump. And his blue suit. And it isn't supporting law enforcement, it's actually anti-law enforcement. Corruption is anti-law enforcement. But they'll, try to blue line it, but they're not even blue line. That's why they can't wear the blue line all that much anymore, because it was all fabricated and false. It's just the same old corruption. And they're actually killing cops with it, good cops, great cops. It's like I said, if you really look at it, their psychology is like the scam you see when a guy's trying to have sex with a woman, like when they're drunk. Or I used to use the Academy example. You see these people that were going to quote unquote study. They knew, everybody else knew that they were going to go have sex. So when I was in FLETC, that mentality was already there, but they took that same mentality and put it like in psychological investigations. And had sex. FLETC is a place where people cheat on their spouse. Should see how many times they tried to get me to do something at FLETC, and then they use cucking with what's that guy's name? And he's part of the deep state his entire fucking career, and then the deep state attacks him because there was another cell, and then he sues the Marshal Service. He was in my advanced class. They kept coming around me with these women that tried to get me interested. But of course, he got paid and was made a chief at a certain point, or assistant, or whatever. He tried to cuck me with some women. Every assignment I went on, they tried cucking me with a guy and a woman. New York, advanced course, DC. That's what they were doing to Omar Mateen, and that's how that happened. And a lot of people, they're gay and they deserve to be shot. Well, every other mass shooting is something similar also, just because there are indirect operations to radicalize people. And they may tell you they're there to catch somebody, but again, if it's manipulating psychology, like I know they're doing it, and it's not there to catch anybody, it's there to create it, and then for them to tell you that you need them because it's so dangerous. So that's a scam, a very big scam. I love these headphones. I knew these would be the ones I wanted. A little expensive for just wired headphones. They're like $20. Everything else is like 10 to 15. Unless you go with some crazy brand that's lying about the quality of their headphones. You're not going to get anything better than this on a cheap wired pair. Like, just sports headphones hang off the ear type of thing. That way my ear breathes. I enjoy my other headphones. They're my favorite. I actually still have 2 brand new pair. But they have a clamping effect and they cover the whole ear. So that could lead to additional issues. It's a nice day so far. Not going to be too warm. Days like this keep me going until September. And you're lucky I'm here because I'm sure we have additional days. They're like willing it the other way, and I'm like healing it so we have nice weather. These people own they run a car rental company. They have these cars for like a day or two, and then they don't have them anymore. So I'm wondering if they're like Airbnb rentals. I wonder if that exists. I mean, you buy a vehicle and it runs okay, and you're cheaper than the car rental company. Because some older vehicles, like you get something that a woman, an older woman had to just run to shopping and stuff. Buy it, runs good, it's older, but you don't charge them, $30. You charge them like $20 or something a day, and end up paying for the vehicle. As long as you select the right vehicles. This guy, I was with him and his wife. Apparently she grew up around here. He's retired from the military. And that was the guy where the doctor said, you're incompetent. He's like, he went to another doctor. The guy says, you're not incompetent. This shows you the incompetency of the VA. But I told him, look, somebody may hit you. You don't know how it works. If somebody didn't like you from your military career and find out you're going in for disability, they'll do some stuff and make some calls. High sign, winky, winky, and maybe pass them $5 or promise dollars. If you look at how it works, you'll see that sometimes money doesn't change hand. The high sign changes hand. That they're, knowledge that they're in. Right. And they're banking on what was already paid. Whether it's some buzzword or whatever it is. And again, when we have a police department or an agency that's doing it, if they have to do it to keep their job, which inside, if you listen, you'll hear people say, I have to do this or I lose my job. Well, so be it, but and we're talking about felony crime and capital murder. But if you listen to them and they say that, or you can hear them and they say that, or if you even interview somebody and they say what you're looking at there. Again, there's unofficial interviews going on because they can't get an official movement in certain areas. People, officers and agents want to find out what's going on. And they say, if I don't do this, I lose my job. That's the remuneration. There doesn't have to be any other remuneration other than keeping their job. Again, all those other criminal charges kick in at that point. Because sometimes, nobody paid you to do this. But, when you get to the point that you have to do it to keep your job, then you're being paid your job. So that's, if you're making $60,000 a year, $70,000 a year, that's the remuneration. Plus perks, your badge, your gun. Again, we just had a case where a sheriff was selling badges and, your carry permit and all that with the badge. So something similar in reality. But worse, because you actually have to be a crook And that, again, I don't know if it's worth society. I think I brought that up. That's a prime example of it's a secret society, criminal enterprise, where it could just be manifesting via those badges. Once they buy in, they're part of it, and if they're in, I don't know how far and wide they give those badges away, but it could be the county area. And then every person that's got that badge, gets a call and they have to go harass somebody or make a false complaint. Call in, hey, there's somebody here saying this. So again, could possibly be what they want to call the deep state. Could be a spycraft criminal enterprise, secret society, cell. So again, they have to pay for it, but somebody brought them in. Again, some of them were felons. So again, what they'll say that kind of like, well, what do you expect me to do, kind of thing. What they're actually doing is kind of like an excited utterance. They're saying, everything I have is based upon me committing these crimes as a police officer or a law enforcement officer. It's not, specifically. So their entire existence is criminal remuneration. So, there are people speaking back and forth and even yelling back and forth, cursing each other out for what the other officer's doing, that kind of thing, in their private spaces. So there is a knowledge base outside of what's investigated, because there's unofficial investigations. And some agents you don't even know, they're around you and they're talking to all of you. And they're finding out what you're doing. At least, to the level that they can, just by general conversation. And, they don't know if it'll ever be investigated, but they want to know what it is because they know they have people in their agencies that have passed on through suicide, have passed on through, or have passed from the agency based upon a criminal charge that was totally out of character. Now, the key to spycraft is to make it look within character. Like they try to I brought this up before with the employee assistance program. They force you in it to show a degradation of your psychology, or a degradation of your morality, or degradation of your quality of life based upon something you're doing, or no, we're here to help. The person has an issue. No, they're causing these issues. Again, when I was speaking about women are losing way, and it's actually God that's causing them. Again, the church would tell you, no, it's the reverse. But see, that's what they're doing. They're causing trans men with spells and spycraft. I mean, trans women and trans men. But that's not the only thing they're causing. Again, if it wasn't for women, I'd be married. Evil women. Jezebel, Delilah, Whores of Babylon. Because I'd have found a woman, it just would have happened. One thing I know how to be as a husband. Again, the question is, does the woman know how to be a wife? And again, my wife knew how to be a wife. I gave her that credit, but little did I know you all started operating in Philadelphia at the latest. Based upon what you were doing with my extension in Korea, you blocked that, and your goal was for her and I not to be married. And then you go, well, wouldn't it have been better? No, you're the ones that ruined the marriage. You're the ones that cursed her and I. Again, she's a victim of it also. And that's what I tried telling her in the beginning, or not in the beginning, when we were splitting up. Like, I understand what happened. But they had operated her. Again, even they wanted me to know, and I'm sure CIA is connected, okay? They wanted me to know that CIA was. But, they kept it away from me enough. Again, psychological manipulation, physical blocks, all that type of thing, that I would think she was just a little loony. That's what they did. That's one of the reasons I always tell you what it is. So that you can see it and realize it and make your choice based upon knowledge. because I didn't have any knowledge of what was going on at all. Now, anybody that says back then, and I guess not even as much now. A lot of people believe the CIA is running a criminal enterprise, controlling things. However, back then, if you said CIA, then they could automatically say you were crazy. Or, we have to say he's crazy because this is national security, but national security is a folk or a joke and a folk. It's a folk. It's a joke and a fraud. There is no national security. Selling the nation to foreign powers to self elevate individual selves and groups and employees and that kind of thing is not only criminal, it's not national security. No, that's why I told you that like over 10 years, probably like almost 15 years ago. I said these Russians are getting rich here because our government employees are selling the nation to them. And they're doing it through spycraft. And it's not only the Russians, I mean Ukrainians, Indians. It doesn't matter who you are, if they can improve their status in life through criminal enterprise and you're in line with that, then you're in. But that's why we have so many homeless people. That's why we have STDs. It's just like, again, I go back to high school and junior high to help describe where these people's minds are. That's their level of intelligence and reality. And even Elon Musk shows a high school class clown mentality, a hurtful mentality. What they're stuck there. Just think back then. Oh, she's a slut because she took her man, but she's not a slut. They're just dating, but all of a sudden she becomes almost a prostitute in the school because that's a witch, that's a devil, it's a demon, that's an antichrist, that's a sorcerer. And they're also moving small groups of witches covens that are similar to a spycraft operation. Why? Because their parents were, and they taught their children how to be. But none of them are really intelligent. It's just they're criminally intelligent. Musk has an element of criminal intelligence, and that's why he really doesn't like real law enforcement officers. He likes the ones that are in the criminal thing. Now, is he an out and out criminal? Well, they're working on him, trying to get him there. First thing they do is like make you buy Twitter. Then your money goes south. You're no longer the important person you once were. But you can be important again if you become this. A Rubicon. An Emerald Con. So again, they're psychologically working on Musk, and they have been, and I think he did go somewhere. He did move in his thinking. Again, whatever it is, but he needs to slow down, regroup, because you're not going to get to Mars with that type of rocket. It's just it's what's a good. It's a good thing that this just happened. Not a bad thing, but a good thing. Rush, what's his name? OceanGate, same type of thing. That's what's seen if you're going to try to go on that type of rocket. Now you may be able to refine it somehow. I don't know. But I mean, that's bombastic. That thing just destroys itself. It's just too much. The question is, are there actually any materials on Earth that can hold up to that? Again, OceanGate is a sign. It won't happen. I wish I could have seen OceanGate. I may have been, I don't know if I could have dissuaded him or anything, but maybe I could have said something. Again, as soon as they said carbon fiber, I went, what? Anybody, like, you have to make a decision. Do you want a carbon fiber bike, or do you want to stay with the other materials? There is a trade-off going with carbon fiber. I opted out of carbon fiber. There's just too much of risk of failure. And then the glue and all that. But again, we're getting into a lot of that, and at a certain point, all that money going in that direction is mocking God. Got a truck up this here. I'm bringing snacks. Oh, I got this. I have like a short time to take. I don't really want to take it. I have really good shit. No, everything I said today is God's honest truth. So again, they're socially and sexually damaging people through these quote unquote tests, and then they get to the point. Well, that agent, this agent, they meant well. No, they don't mean. And no, it isn't only that agent and this agent. I mean, they're sick. Nobody would do this to a person unless they were sick. No, they're not jaded from their many investigations. Why? Because it's only a certain groups of people that get jaded like that, which is not jaded. They get criminal enterprise. And they get their job at Facebook, Twitter, Visa, MasterCard. Like, I try to throw the extra in because I'm not only speaking about Silicon Valley or Silicon Valley. Again, the thinking is that it's this person or that person. It's all of them. Again, Chase Bank. Now, when I say Antichrist, they have, the thing is, these atheists have friends that are in the church, believe me, inside friends. They all the same scam, but they, ply one side against the other. Oh, we're Antichrist because we're not, in line with the church. Let's bring up, what do they call it? Yeah. I'm in with those people. I'm investigating them inside. The Sisters of Indulgence or Perpetual Indulgence. So again, they would bring up that side of the argument at that point. But no, I've spent a lot of time in my life, on the internet and off the internet, explaining what the Bible actually says. So again, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are most likely spiritually blind, but God rises them up because there are those in the church that would not let them be as simple. And it's kind of the reason why they do it, because they can feel what's coming at their life. Wouldn't let them be. And each step of the way, they increased because, that sin from the church, the abomination from the church, changing their life, even possibly making them gay. We know I got to admit, it's hard to focus like I do, and I do agree that, but you have to get somewhere with it. You can't be doing what you're all doing. Because like that one priest was like, while he was having sex with children, was saying stuff like, God forgives us for what we do or something like that. I mean, that's got to be possession, right? Now, you have to understand that priest was possessed like that because that priest was that priest. In other words, if that priest was you, you wouldn't have to fight that possession. And then here's like, oh, the psychologist is more mixed. No, I don't. Because again, they're twisting everything that's said. So that priest had to deal with something that you all don't have to deal with. And again, you've actually articulated what I said earlier. Oh, I have to do this, or something's going to happen to me. I can't live this life. I won't have the money I have, that kind of thing. So at a certain point, they didn't want to do whatever it was, and then their life started degrading, and then they became possessed because they're in the clergy. He may have actually been somebody. Again, the hardest thing to do the most difficult thing to wrap your head around and move forward with in any type of religion is forgiveness, real forgiveness, not that system bullshit forgiveness. Because they'll point at somebody that's considered a dreg of society and say that person should be forgiven above all others. Again, the Bible says that first, last, all of that type of thing. The first thing you have to get to is to realize that sin grieves your spirit, so it grieves the person's spirit. You have to realize that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. This guy's got these French bulldogs, and the one is like aware, and it sees me. And he doesn't like his dogs interacting with people, so I have to like walk away from him because the dog's like, "Oh, there he is! Hey, I was listening to your show yesterday inside. Got a question? Got a question?" I had the power of no at times in my life, and it's never down. But of course, all power is God. I have no power with him. So when the priest attempts to forgive somebody that the local PD is trying to kill into crime, into sexual perversion, and again, I don't believe sexual perversion exists outside of the causation. Again, so what would that be? Sexual adulteration. So there's an original plan, and we come outside of that original plan. But if you go through the Bible, you'll realize that somebody's at fault, and it's not usually the people that are engaged in it. And that's where the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence come from. But if that priest, again, I'm trying to bring together how everybody's actually having the same thing happen to them at different levels. And in fact, the nicer you are, the more they want to make you the criminal, the radical, the radicalized. I mean, this is what our government is spending the most amount of its money on, the most amount of its influence on. But it includes corporate world, Chase. Chase is a spycraft bank. They get made number one in the name of national security. Same thing that they did for their buddy Epstein. Because they'll do the hits. Chase Bank is number one because they did me, but it isn't only me that they did. They get a call, they get told to do somebody, they do it, don't worry, we won't investigate it, you're okay. They showed them for years that they'd be okay by committing crimes against people. Good morning, how are you? All right, so need prayer in a certain direction. That woman here, she found out she had lupus, so she needs prayer. So she's from Wichita. She came up here for work. She returned to Wichita, I guess, for the weekend for a couple days and got stuck in the hospital. She has lupus. Hopefully it's true. Sounded like she got a bunch of meds. She said she got to be on. So, how's her family? Thank you. It's good. So, they'll create the person you're supposed to hate. But in reality, again, I brought this up before. The only person they hate worse than the person they curse is the person that heals the person they curse. And that's also metaphysical. So in reality, when you see this priest that's so whacked, if you know how law enforcement officers consider religious people, especially religious people that offend in a certain way, and probably in any way, you'll understand, again, that you back the blue, but they're not who you think they are. And again, you're not who you pretend to be in the church. So again, I guess you're both devils, and it doesn't matter to any of you as long as you keep going up and everybody else keeps going down. So if you're a priest and you're forgiving sin, you know, in confession, and it's a person being hit by organized crime and the local police being part of organized crime, you'll probably end up like that guy. And that's real. I mean, you've all said it already, that you have to do this or something would happen. So we do not wrestle. I mean, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. We wrestle against spiritual things. Those spiritual things, and when we know that there's devils, demons, antichrist, witches, sorcerers, you know, quote unquote rulers. But you know, it's pretty. The rule thing is kind of widespread. The population is much bigger. The number of devils and demons has increased, and I think percentage-wise, and not only I think, I know percentage-wise, there's an increased number of devils and demons and antichrist, witches, and sorcerers. And antichrist is a certain type of devil that comes against Christ's teaching. The Sadducees and Pharisees were antichrist. Anybody, there's tons of people in the church that are antichrist. The people attacking the gay people are antichrist. And then when they get attacked back, they go, oh, look, see, they are coming for our children. Again, the swagcraft criminals that I speak about, the cops, again, they're harassing somebody. Private sector government, foreign, domestic, harassing a person, trying to elicit a psychological change, a radicalization, a crime, even unto murder and child molestation, that type of heinousness. And they are the thing that we wrestle against. Again, they call it testing. No, the Bible doesn't say we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but in some people it's only a test of the satanic broadcasting system. So you know how hard it is to structure your life unless you're given by the criminals. They're in there unstructuring life, taking people down so they can't keep presence of mind. And many people had, like I said when we were out on fugitive warrants, I look at people and go, I can see that person think, and I didn't even know about seeing that. I just, something's wrong. How is this happening? And then I woke up. She was a black person that had information about a fugitive. It's obviously she was, didn't have the thought process, the God-given thought process that she should have had, but yet that we had. But then at a certain point, when I began to see, I would speak to the same people. I'm like, oh, they just told me something. Like they didn't know that they were telling me like pearls of wisdom. Some, I guess a couple did. One of the strangest ones was when I was still in Baltimore. I was down at the Inner Harbor. I think I just did like a child custody or a divorce proceeding. And I went down to Baltimore. And I was, at that point, I was healing East Baltimore and that kind of thing. But I was down at the Inner Harbor and this guy, I think I sat on a bench. And this black guy walks over. And he sits down next to me. I mean, this is all like, I mean, God was up high enough to present the biblical experience. I still, kind of have it. The woman at the well, and I don't know what I said the other day, something similar to that. What was it? They probably forced me to forget it. But like people come along that are like biblical characters that Jesus met, that the others met. But this is the guy I ever had meeting, that kind of thing. So I'm sitting there, and he comes down and sits next to me, and he's pretty much probably, back then it was a crack addict. And, right away I kind of figured that out. A clean cut guy sits down next to me. And he just starts speaking a conversation like he knew me. And I realized I was part of the conversation before I was part of the conversation. And we sat and we spoke, and I pretty much, I think I gave him a $20 bill, and I said, I think the whole gist is have faith in God. And that's what he was saying. I mean, he was tortured, he was tormented, he was addicted, he was possessed. But even within him was that, again, the demoniac. Right? Again, it's kind of kind of a diss, because people don't understand the term and it's been used wrong. Yeah, it's just people that are possessed. But he still had enough of himself that he could manifest that part of himself. I speak highly of God. So it's like really weird. It's just he came up and started having a conversation. It was like he was in the middle of a conversation, and then at a certain point I realized that he most likely had that conversation with me inside. Again, God was able to show me that in the beginning. Again, it's not as prevalent. People don't speak out as much. My grandmother used to have conversations. I don't know if you missed any of that or not. My window closed. They hacked me. So, in the Marshal Service, there was somebody who who had like a big charge, and they kept him. I mean, he was like an assistant director or something, and they kept him. You know, he had trouble with his background, but nobody cared because they knew what it was. It was set up. So that's one of the reasons the CIA moved to absolutely take over the Marshal Service, because they couldn't do those fake operation, fake investigations and then take somebody out. So in other words, they have a couple of officers that work for them while they have spies and criminal enterprise and narcotics distributors. And again, CIA is allowed to move through narcotics distributors and sex traffickers, but they're not allowed to do that in the United States, routinely setting up a network like that. It's patterned after CIA overseas, but they're doing it here. and doing it against U.S. citizens, and again for personal gain. It's not only CIA; it's everybody that rotates around that piece of shit. They're not real, man. Come on. All right, so I keep doing that, but again, that doesn't mean here's a learning moment. That doesn't mean the people closing my screen are the CIA. It could be their bosses, the Russians. At least a certain segment of CIA, including the director. So again, don't see the world in government and private sector. Again, don't be a respecter of persons. Realize that there's good and evil, and there's none good. So when you realize that something's evil, it doesn't mean that you're good. So there's actually like evil, and then there's people that aren't evil. But Jesus said there's none good, no, not one. So we're not supposed to see ourselves as good. We're supposed to see ourselves as not evil. And that's kind of the only delineation you can make on the planet. Evil and those that aren't evil. Based upon scripture, if you want to actually be correct. So that helps you again with what the Bible's actually saying. Wow, I'm almost at an hour, and I would make it an hour and a half. A walk. It's great stuff. So wish I was late on the trails. Stop the place versus up because I'm not there. No, it's going to automatically happen. I'm just helping you understand. Every time I realize I'm not supposed to be here and supposed to be there, every time my pay's not there, it's just going to increase automatically. This is their big assassination month, I guess. Again, it was my birthday, July 4th. They love doing it around those times. That's how you radicalize me. So the church spent probably millions of dollars. Government spent probably tens of millions. Again, you may think somebody's investigating something, but what they're doing is actually radicalizing something for personal gain or for group gain, criminal enterprise gain. So the idea is they radicalize the LGBTQ people. They realized they couldn't get anywhere with Antifa, so they put it over there, and they kind of are working that. Again, I find some of wokeness just bullshit. But again, there is a status of awareness above normal awareness that is considered awakened, and that would speak about how there is something happening to the Black community to keep them down that is outside of what we normally consider. They're using some cleaner over here, clean their equipment. Whew, pretty strong. I'm like way over here in open air, and they're not using a mask and they're around this fumes. Maybe it's because I'm walking too. I think they're mad because I just focused on the fact that I've been walking an hour and a half. Now they're all mad. So again, a lot of it is causing negative experience around something over and over again. Again, to make man gay. And again, if you speak to a lot of men that are gay, they'll tell you that it's because women were evil that they became gay. So the government will do that when they want to gay somebody. They'll make evil things, or they'll make evil women around good men, and they have a bad experience, and then they become gay. The government does that. Private sector criminal cronies do that. It's called spycraft. Psychological warfare techniques. Good morning, how you doing? So again, that's a lot of what's going on, that type of thing. So again, that would begin the movement towards being gay, and then they increase that, and they radicalize the person against heterosexuals, that kind of thing. The church, etc. But the church is kind of a willing participant in that kind of psychological manipulation, and it's actually demonic possession also in people's minds. Kind of Munchausen by proxy issue. That's like run amok in all the churches. Cause the issue and then say the issue exists, and how heinous and evil they are. Just being part of the thing makes you part of it. Right? Being part of the Nazi Party makes you part of it whether you were running a concentration camp or not. Listening to their curses. The final laps, and I'm going to have to spin around the other direction. I don't want to go past that. There's fumes again. Not helping. Yeah, I think I'm going to send back the other headphones. There's no volume in them. I'm lucky to be able to hear with them at all. And then this has an amplifier in it too, so. So I'd like to be able to get to an apartment, but now I have to wait for my plate. That's going to take 2 weeks, or just under 2 weeks. If they have their way, they'll grab it. Well, after it's mailed and hold it for a few days. They can go to the last. They did that with my credit card, no doubt. So they're under in the name of law enforcement. Though you're forcing us to say you're a criminal because you're bringing up what we're doing. I mean, that's psychotic in itself. I mean, who would say something like that? That post office has been in it for years. What are they then? Fourth right. I told you when it started, it's the fourth right. It's that same thing that possessed the Third Reich, is possessing them to do this. So now they do it through a more educated, or actually criminally educated way, and use such methods that it's less likely that somebody would come against it. Again, bringing in all these people before they launch the final solution. And then including segments of each society, turning them into Nazis. How you doing? Just trying to get my 60 minutes. How you doing? Well, it doesn't make sense to look for an apartment at this point because I got to wait for that plate to come in, my personalized license plate. And I have to wait for that to come in, and then I'll be able to get somewhere. At that point, I guess. Excuse me? Yeah, I'm broadcasting. That's about all I was doing this morning. No worries. I just didn't want you to say anything you didn't want on the internet there. Now you could talk to that woman, and she didn't figure, she didn't know I was broadcasting. I think I was just like giving her a cold shoulder, kind of. Now we conversation. Sure, she's from Kansas City. They moved out here. They're in the burbs now. Something happened really bad to them in Kansas City, and a group of them moved out here. Like, so they're actually happy to be out here. I don't know if somebody gave them assistance to bring them out here or what, but yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, I don't have facts of what happened, but they were shell shocked when I met them. It was like, my second day here. Living in the burbs. And they actually go to the designated smoking area and smoke. They're like law abiding, I don't think anybody else does. But they're a group of people, they go to the designated smoking area and they smoke. I just can't believe, I was like, did I spell this right? I can't believe I must have spelled it wrong. I got this plate, this license plate, personalized plate. But I got it, it actually looks pretty good. I got it in the lamination. And the part that got ripped was where the screw was in, the screw goes in, but I put tape over, they call it duct tape over that 100-mile-an-hour tape, because it strengthens it, when you screw the screw in, right? And I did that, but it's pretty strong. It's like stronger than what they use. That's my recommendation. I don't know what you pay for those little packaging things, but when you start laminating, then nobody can modify it. I was in Oklahoma. I was broadcasting, and somebody looked like they were modifying their plate with like nail polish or something. I don't changing the date. So what you really want to do is, and then of course they get to defeat this and re-laminate. But what I would do is I would buy lamination. Otherwise, they can change the date. Maybe this one's a little more difficult. I'm trying to remember what they look like. So I think you can come up with the same price, and lamination's better than what you're using. Again, what happened is that plastic got stuck in the screw hole while I was screwing it in. It grabbed it, the screw, and then it twisted it and yanked it. And then I was cursed. It's a curse. I ended up going to the car wash where I fixed it, because I'll go home and fix it. Usually what I do is I go home and I make sure it's working, that it's well. But you can't, because you got to give up your license plate. So I had to do it there. But the lamination seals it, and I'm sure you can find lamination that's more secure than what, because I used to iron here. More secure this, but it's really secure. Might have a few air bubbles in there. And then they won't be able to change it, but plus you're helping people, they won't have that situation now where it gets grabbed by the screw. Now, the thing is, for holes, what do you do for holes? I think they're standard holes, right? You can actually have the hole punched. Standard locations. But I think you buy things that are standard. I guess the holes are standard. I think the marking is down. Yeah, I'm off center again. I think the cross of those two lines is where the hole's supposed to be. The intersectional lines for the center are better, but it's not bad. Yeah, the license plate has something. So you recreate maybe what's on the license plate. And that way it's sealed. It'll never get wet. And they can't change it, because it looks outside. Yeah, I could actually, I guess, scan this. Something actually said that, but I wouldn't do that, because I would consider that. I'd just go get another one. That's what I'm still also. That's the real voice. You can go down there and show them what I do. But they, I could scan this and I could change the date perfectly. Now I don't know if if you ran the plate if that show conflict. I guess I'm sure. But I still would go with lamination. It just doesn't make sense. I'm sure it may even be cheaper than what you have. Again, the machines would cost a little bit, but they're not that expensive. I mean, use lamination. It's very big in the starting in the 80s. That I know. I mean, it isn't like new technology. It's like Facebook threads. It's a bulletin board. It's a bulletin board chat. Big deal. I can link it to my Instagram. What's that mean? We're expecting like the X app, and who knows what the X app's going to be? It's an unknown factor, right? No, we should have what people are looking for is content creation, like what I'm doing right here. Facebook should have. I should be able to get on Facebook and be able to do this, like really nice on my mobile, like a studio restream. Now, I admit I haven't been to it, but I think you have to be on desktop to do it. This is the problem. And again, it's blindness because you're all evil. You stop catering to the mobile device, and everything that's like cool is desktop. I mean, what the hell? I'm like I said, look at the G3 or G6. I think it's the G3 from Soundwest, Creative Labs. You can go in with your mobile device. You can use it on almost any device. It's a driverless audio thing, but it just doesn't have a lot of options. You put those options in there. But you go in, you Bluetooth in. It doesn't matter what you plug it into. You can change the parameters. You can change you can do the controls. It's mostly for gamers, for the audio effect receiving into the ears. The broadcast is very limited, but it's not horrible. It's just depending on what mic you use. Again, it's 3.5 millimeters, so they're using labs, and it's probably not the best sounding mic. So I should be able to, with a mobile device, go in, and I should be able to change all my sound functions, things like that, my broadcast functions. But yeah, everything's coming out desktop on. But I could use a mic or an interface on due to the USB standard. Right, I could use it on a mobile device, but I don't have any options to do much anything, if anything, at all. So again, we don't have like micro devices or mini devices with digital signal processing capability, and that digital signal processing capability needs to be adjustable from that mobile device, like a phone, iPhone, an Android phone. So that was one of the movements that they stepped away from. When I saw the G3, I'm like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. I can Bluetooth in and control this from any mobile device, including the one that it's plugged into with an app. So you can get some really nice headphone experience from it, but it's very limited on the mic in. Now the mic in does have great monitoring, your volume on your monitoring, your volume on your mic, but I don't have a compressor. I don't have an EQ. EQ is on the other experience, listening. So again, we're really behind on all of that. We're behind on a lot. So again, the idea that we're looking for an ability, and again, the industry is what it is. I pay an extra fee to do the restream thing. That's fine. But, I think social media should look into being that. It wants to expand into what it should be. Again, it's almost like that Threads thing is trying to compete with Blue Sky because there's a standard language that they're using, and it allows it to move through other, chat or social media platforms. But I don't know. When it comes to creativity, it doesn't seem like it's actually going anywhere. So, like, I'm in this web app, and this is the studio that I'm broadcasting from. It'd be nice if social media had things like that on a mobile device. Because that's really where everybody is, or should be going. I mean, just written words is fine. I do it a lot, but this is much better. Dollar speech. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.